Houston, can you hear me? Okay, it seems we have no problems. So, hello everybody, I'm Denis, I'm from Viking Software, and before we start, I'd like to provide some information not directly related to our topic, but I hope you'll be interested in. The Viking Software is about to drop out this copter, and if you'd like to get a chance to win it, just share your business cards with us. For those who don't have business cards, we prepared blank cards, so you can just write down your name and email or any other contact you prefer. And please don't hesitate to reach my colleague who's here to help you, or you also can reach me after this presentation or find out our booth to share your business card there. And that's enough for Viking Software. Let's return to me. I personally love applications which operates in between the desktop and the web platforms. I'm not sure is it my luckiness or is it common statistics, but such projects seems to be relatively rare compared to other regular projects based on Qt core, UI, and so on. But fortunately, I have some experience in such projects, and I'd like to share my experience and provide a quick first glance at Qt WebEngine. To start with, we have to define what the web is and what to expect from WebEngine. And nowadays, web it's a complicated thing that includes content, ways to get this content, and ways to interact with this content. And basically, it's the scope where WebEngine works. Here you can see a joke related to networking, maybe not the funniest one, but definitely one of the most ancient jokes. I heard it in the middle of 19th, and obviously it's not the event, even remarkable event from those times. But the year 1996, the Qt first version released, the KDE project founded, and in a few years after that, the Apple forked some sub-projects from KDE project and started WebKit, the base for their Safari browser. And a few years later, Google joined the party to use the WebKit as the base for their Chrome web browser and the Chromium project. At some point, Google decided that there are too much independent developer teams with different approaches, different goals, and it's time to make new fork, and they started the project WebEngine with codename Blink that currently is a base for Chrome, for Chromium project, and it's wrapped in Qt as a Qt WebEngine. Since WebEngine and WebKit has a lot in common, and the WebKit has been a large part for many years, part of Qt, I'd like to start with comparing both projects to highlight differences and to demonstrate what we do have now and what we missed. The basic usage in both projects is really trivial. We need just WebView, connect its notifiers to appropriate slots, feed it with URL, and that's all. It seems the API is almost the same except class namings, but actually there are a lot of differences, and the main one is used process model. The WebKit uses single process. That means that all the work to download content, to render it, to store the data is performed in the same process as your application. And that's not the case for WebEngine, because WebEngine uses multi-process paradigm, and there are three types or modes of this multi-process. One of which, the single process, is intended to be used only for development or debugging, and two others are just kind of compromise between amount of used sources and the application responsiveness. As a developer, you can choose between these two modes by passing command line arguments into your application. So there are no direct API to use it because the WebEngine submodel called Qt WebEngine process is kind of black box for us, and that's a limitation. The similar situation is about Qt WebEngine core model. It's in general a wrapper of Chromium internals. It does provide some public API shared among other models, but it's impossible to directly communicate with Chromium internals, only through provided APIs. So we have a couple of black boxes here. The next big difference is a result of such multi-process thing. It's a synchronous or asynchronous API. Obviously, it's not a problem to provide synchronous API in WebKit, but in WebEngine, we have to use callback-based API and pass pointers to some callbacks. It could be functors or lambdas or whatever we want. And that's kind of a normal way to, say, get HTML of downloaded document or to run JavaScript and so on. Next difference is about way how we can access the document object model of downloaded documents. Obviously, because WebKit is single process and it's synchronous, it does provide special classes, which kind of regular tree node. It has QWeb element has ways to iterate through its siblings, children, to get its parents. And Qt WebEngine only provides ability of JavaScript. That's not the point to think, is it good or is it bad? It's just the things we do have. And the last but not least, the networking layer. WebKit has direct access to Qt Network Access Manager, so it's not a problem to intercept requests, modify it, and so on. But WebEngine uses the internal implementation of networking layer provided by Chromium. And that means that to get access to some, say, outgoing request, you have to implement provided interfaces to install interceptors. And in such interceptor, you can analyze the descriptional data that is passed as argument. And based on this description, you have to decide what you'd like to do with this request. And you can redirect this or set up some additional headers or just abort the request. As you can see, these almost all methods available here. So there are no ways to get, say, post data. And to do such things, we have to use JavaScript again. Obviously, such thing needs advanced communication between C++ part and JavaScript part. And fortunately, Qt has such a technique. It's called Qt WebChannel. We will discuss it in details a bit later. Now, let's look at other API provided by submodules. I've grouped these classes just in purpose for this presentation, so there are no such grouping, just for us. Classes provided by Qt WebEngine core. Client certificate store, it's a thing used to help you to manage client certificates, because by default, Chromium uses configuration from operation system, and there are no ways to operate with this from Qt. And this in-memory client store is a way to configure your application. Cookie store is a thing that can be used to synchronize cookies between Chromium and the Qt Network Access Manager, if you need this by any reasons. Next block is tools that helps you to implement features of modern HTML, like notification and some requests. And the last block is related to traffic level. It uses interfaces like we see before. And that's probably the most interesting API available from WebEngine core submodel. Yeah, sorry. Two other submodels, WebEngine and WebEngine widgets, they actually almost the same. The difference is purpose. One is intended to be used from C++ side, and another is for Qt Quick QML. WebEngine widgets, that C++ submodel, almost completely present here. Each node on the diagram, it's a class or a couple of classes, and the things are not present on the diagram. It's just helper tools to be used with API provided by core model. The two topmost items, view and page, is kind of model view support. And this is the main difference between C++ model and the QML model, because QML model has just a single class view, which provides ability both of view and page from C++. Other classes present here are pretty simple and obvious. Actions, it's common things like find text on page or navigate in history and so on. And the profile, it's important abstraction, widely used, and the main thing it allows us to store the data related to our current session. Data like visited links, cookies, network cache, and so on. Of course, we can use this thing in read-only mode, like incognito mode in common web browsers. Here it's called out of record. And to create such instance, out of record instance of WebEngine profile, we can use just default constructor without naming. And if we like to use and store data among our sessions, we have to use the named constructor. For default profiles, we also can use API provided by Qt WebEngine. It has default profile that can be requested and used as any other thing. Also, profile, it's a place where request interceptors stored. We see this before. Web settings, it's a thing that one would expect when opening the settings tab of browser. Things like download or not images, enable or disable JavaScript support, and so on. And the script collection. Script collection, it's really powerful thing that operates with Qt WebEngine script entities. Except obvious fields like source and name, it has such thing called world ID. It's abstraction from Chromium that allows us to isolate or vice versa, share some data among the scripts with same world ID. Another interesting thing is injection point. Actually, it's just a point in the time when our script becomes alive. It could be document ready, it could be document creation, or some flag that's called deferred, and it mixes both of these plus some timings. Now, when the script is filled with data, it could be inserted into the collection of scripts related to this page, and then the data loaded, we can just invoke JavaScript functions. Here is example of using the jQuery library. And as you can see, here is for this example, I used hard-coded values for name and password, which is not really good and not acceptable in production. Of course, we can pass these things as arguments to our do-login function, but it's not a good way because it could lead to some potential problems in future. Maintaining, adding new arguments or removing some could become a pain. And here we come to Qt WebChannel that intended to help us. Qt WebChannel, as said in documentation, is an attempt to fill the gap between web and desktop. That means that it does provide ability to use the power of the Qt meta object system inside of JavaScript. So we have Qt object with its properties, signals, slots, and so on. And these things are available in JavaScript. So at the topmost, it's some magic related to Qt WebChannel API that is provided by Qt. And using this WebChannel, now we can replace our hard-coded values just by reading properties from QObject. And also we can introduce some basic error handling, which operates with signals, slots, and other information available from Qt meta object. But to start things working, we have to complete the configuration of all these things, and there is one more step. Initialize the WebChannel on C++ part. So we have to instantiate the WebChannel object, set up it to desired web page, register in this object our Q object, and after that we have to inject the JavaScript, which is, implements the API of Qt WebChannel. It's stored in Qt resource system and provided by Qt, and that's almost all. After that, we have to inject our custom user scripts and invoke our JavaScript functions in some way. And since this point, all things works like a charm. But if they don't, we have to debug, and there are some debug techniques. Obviously, first one, it's just textual tracing. The wrapper we can use to catch console log messages and so on, provided by JavaScript, and we can transfer these messages to QDebug or file or whatever log system we have. But sometimes we need advanced debugging, and here is the way how to access to well-known developer tools available in Chrome-based browsers. As you can see, it's just 3 lines of code, but still you have to manage the instance of another WebEngine view to be used as an inspector. You have to think about ways when to trigger, how to show or to hide this window. And that's not easy way. There are a couple of ways more preferable. And one of these is using command line arguments to be passed into your application. So it's basically just a port for remote debugging. After that, you can navigate to localhost with desired port to use the external browser. Of course, it should be a Chromium-based browser for remote debugging. But frankly speaking, it's not real remote debugging. And to use real remote debugging, you have to set up the environment variable with host name specified. After this, you have real remote debugging. In general, the WebEngine is a huge project with a lot of topics, and being limited to just 20 minutes, I can't cover them all. So here just brief list of short notes I'd like to highlight. First of all, Chromium is not Google Chrome. Maybe obvious, but there are no services provided by Google, like automatic crash handling or statistics collection or account synchronization and so on. Next things, it's about static builds. Qt WebEngine doesn't support this. Dependency. Qt WebEngine uses Qt Quick Stain Graph, so it requires OpenGL, so it's a dependency. You have to keep this in mind. The supported platforms are general desktop platforms. It's impossible to use WebEngine in mobile, and you have to use the Qt Web View. For Mac users, please keep in mind that the WebEngine is incompatible with Mac Application Store because it uses some private API. And the things related to our demo JavaScript function, sometimes it could be really hard to interact with user interface with inputs, buttons from JavaScript, and it's possible that you will result with generating some artificial user input. Of course, it's not a good way for production level applications, but sometimes it's a nice trick to be used for fast prototyping or something like that. Here is some links that I think may be useful, just interesting for those who just opening and investigating the Qt WebEngine. Please use QR code to get the clickable list of the same links right now. And as a conclusion, I'd like to say that Qt does provide a lot of ways to get access to web content. And the Qt WebEngine seems to be the most powerful tool for any task you have. But it's not a silver bullet. It's just a tool with its own purpose, with its own limitations. So please keep this in mind. And I'd like to wish you good luck with any tools you have to use. Thank you for attending. Questions, please.
Thank you, Denis. Are there any questions? I see one hand raised over there.
There's one thing I'm still not quite clear about. Is it necessary to install some sort of a Chromium driver, like it's the case when you use Selenium, or is Chromium actually embedded into Qt?
Thanks. It's embedded into Qt.
Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no further questions, then a small hint from my side. So if you have any questions to reach out, that's for today and yesterday. If you want to reach out to any speaker or so after the event, you can always see us here around, or if some questions pop up into your mind later on, you can also contact anybody at the Qt company or via the website, and we will also forward to our speakers here. So if you want to reach Denis and you contact us via our Qt website, that's possible. So we will not hold back or so and establish the contact. Yeah, many thanks for listening to this very nice presentation from Denis. And now we have an hour break for lunch, which will be served outside. And thank you, and see you soon.